Welcome back. Well, we're going to focus on the pharma space now. Remember that we've been discussing that it has been the top sectoral loser of 2016. It's underperformed the Nifty by losing around 14 to 15 odd %. And a lot of the pharma stocks saw a deep correction on multiple issues, from regulatory to pricing pressure. To discuss all of that, we have Mr. Binish Chudgar, the VC and MD of Intas Pharmaceuticals. And just to give you a brief background, they are most recently known for buying Teva's assets in UK and Ireland. And it's an unlisted company with revenues of over 6,000 odd crores. Abhishek Sharma of IIFL will also be with us in just a bit. But Mr. Chudgar, hi, thank you very much for joining in. First, wanted to start by talking about the US markets. You do sales of around $250 million in the US markets currently. Can you start by telling us about the pricing pressure that a lot of the Indian companies are facing when it comes to the US? Your sense and your experience on it. Will it probably worsen in 2017?
Yeah. Sure, Ekta. US is a very important market so far as the Indian pharma industry is concerned. There has been a pricing pressure. There are two reasons on it. One is the consolidation on the distribution front in US. So we have a less customer, just 4 customers contributing around 85% of US market. So consolidation on distribution side in US brings price pressure. On other side, there is a faster approvals due to GDUFA, so there is increased competition. All said and done, but in value terms, US generic market is growing at 4 to 5% per annum. So, and if you look, Indian companies, top Indian company accounts for almost 30–35% of US generic sales. So it is under pressure. It is competitive. It is very inviting. And I think Indian companies are capable of bringing their growth in days to come.
Okay. Mr. Chudgar, you know, the average amount of pricing pressure, and I'm talking about average, it could differ company to company, is around 10 odd % in terms of, you know, the impact on portfolio that we saw in 2016. Your sense in terms of how much that could possibly escalate to in 2017?
It would be similar. I don't feel that it is going to escalate. The growth would come out of the new products which companies are going to market. And value stability would remain out of difficult to manufacture products. See, there is a competition from Indian companies also, because same molecules or same NDAs are granted to several Indian companies. So value erosion is happening fast. And there's a competitive environment, and companies have learned to stay in it, and they are enjoying it. And we feel that, yes, there will be pricing pressure, but now in this year, Indian pharma dollar term growth rate would be at least in, if not in double digit, but in single digit.
Right. So then high single digits, right? I mean, minimum high single digits is what you're saying, sir.
Yeah, high single digit, you are right.
Right. Abhishek Sharma is Pharma Analyst with IIFL. Abhishek, thanks very much for joining in. Good morning. Prashant here. We're in conversation with the Intas management. Just coming to you, Abhishek, in a bit. Mr. Chudgar, if I can just stay there on the earlier topic that you were sort of describing, is the environment looking more competitive or more inviting now? I mean, it's obviously all relative compared to how 2016 or past years have been. But how is it looking really, incrementally? Yeah,
it's becoming more competitive. It is always inviting. It's very open, very inviting. And see, if you look last 5-year, 10-year time, Indian companies have done very well. So now to go for a higher digit growth rate, they will have to change some strategy and move out to difficult to manufacture, or they will have to throw more resources on research side for value creation.
Okay. Abhishek, what's your sense in terms of pricing pressure in the US? Are you also anticipating around 10% in terms of the pricing pressure for 2017 on an average? And your thoughts, as well as with regards to this whole DOJ or Department of Justice probe, with regards to, a couple of companies that are named. Is that just going to curb any sort of increase in generic pricing that we could see in the US markets henceforth, and hence curb EPS estimates?
Yeah, so I don't have a figure in mind as to how much price competition, how much of price erosion on account of buyer consolidation we are going to see in the future. My sense is that it was a lot of it was led by a very few products, and those few products seem to have settled down. On the base, if you remove those few products, the base really hasn't moved much. Maybe it's in a much tighter range of plus to minus 3%. As far as DOJ is concerned, it's basically, if you've gone through the complaints, they hint at generic companies have colluded with each other. I mean, it's just a set of complaints right now, nothing is proven. And my guess, that again, on the similar issue of generic pricing, I think we have already seen that the generic pricing, the selective product price inflation that I was talking about, seems to have settled down. So the DOJ essentially is focusing on history of whatever may have happened in the last 2 to 3 years. That same thing is not continuing today. On a very long-term basis, my sense is, on one hand we are saying that, the market is already in a free fall as far as pricing is concerned, and then there is DOJ issue which talks about price fixing on selective drugs. Both these issues cannot coexist. One will have to give way to others. So if DOJ is able to bring more stabilization into prices, then we will see reduced competition, increasing consolidation on the manufacturer side, and that would again sort of act as a balancing factor overall in the market. So we can't have all negatives, is what my sense is. Things will tend to balance out each other over next 1 or 2 years.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Abhishek, as well as Mr. Chudgar, we need to take a...
Basically discussing the road ahead for the pharmaceutical sector. We have Mr. Binish Chudgar of Intas Pharma and Abhishek Sharma, Pharma Analyst with IIFL, with us. Mr. Chudgar, if I can come to you, sir. A couple of years back when the US FDA scrutiny into facilities, generic facilities, etc. in India started, it started slow, then it picked up steam. Many people said, well, the US FDA is out to get Indian pharma. Then it became, well, FDA has got more staff. I mean, the narrative kept changing. Are we past the peak in terms of the scrutiny by FDA? Or put it differently, do you think Indian companies have now adjusted to what FDA wants?
Yeah, see, I would like to answer it that way, in other way around. See, if you look US market, if you look the plants approved by US FDA, around 30% of US approved sites belongs to India. So there's a massive number for a large market of US, and anyone defaults or anyone has any 483, it gets lots of media attention, but it's a natural course. Same thing happen for a US sites also, or it happens to a large generic company like Teva, Acta, or you name the company, and they have a 483 issues. And according to me, the Indian companies are at a high capacity utilization, and they have different issues when you run the plant at a higher capacity, and you need to renovate the plants at every 4 to 5 years with a change in the technology, and also small regulation changes which keeps on happening. So I agree with you that yes, we are fully, Indian pharma industry is fully geared up to the new regulations or new expectations of US FDA.
Okay. Abhishek, what's your sense in terms of the regulatory hurdle? Do you think 2017 would be better maybe? And your sense in terms of what's going to happen with DVs as well?
So 2016 by itself, by and large, was very good. I think Lupin received an EIR for both the facilities, so that's off the regulatory heat map. Alchem also, in a record time, within 2-3 months, they were able to receive an EIR despite the fact that they got 13 observations. Now, barring Divi's, I think where we only have a 483 to look at right now and no further escalation. The key outstanding issues, as you rightly said, relate to Sun, Cadila and Dr. Reddy's, which are 2014 inspections where we got a warning letter. Looking at Sun's 483 post the December inspection, I think, it's apparent that the investigators themselves acknowledge that the company has made significant progress in remediation, and we are expecting to see the same in terms of the other companies which are impacted. So our sense is that things are on the mend, and 2017 will be even better as compared to 2016.
Okay, fair enough.